Hello everybody! Norway has been more isolated than the other countries around for a long time. I think actually all the way since the Viking era. And I believe that is because life became more difficult for people after the Viking era. That means that our culture since then has been more preserved in Norway. And I now have to speak English because the interest for this is greater in other countries. The common interest for this is greater in other countries than among common Norwegian people. So first I will talk about the very special ancient music. I will say they are at the top of my hit list. They are all hits. You know why I say hit? Because you really hit when you play this. They had huge harps and they didn't climper the strings, they hit the strings. So that is why we call this music hits. In Norwegian, slott, and plural, slottar. These slottar, these hits, have different ways of tuning. Some of them are ecstasy hits. The way they tune it then is the bass is very loose, making it vibrate very heavily, and it gives you a feeling of really grounding. At the same time, they are played on instruments with a lot of overtones, whether it be the harp, the Jews harp, also where you hit it, or the fiddle, the Hardanger fiddle. You don't hit the strings on the Hardanger fiddle, you stroke it, right? So that tells you that the original way of playing this was on harp, whether it was the Jews harp or the big huge harp with huge long strings. So with the overtones and the loose bass, you have the experience of really grounding with the bass, and the overtones give you a sensation in the brain that is very peculiar. And the intensity in the rhythm drives this emotion, this physical sensation of ecstasy up. Of course, with the modern days of distractions, whether it be electricity, stress, and a lot of noise all around, people are not so open to the experience of this wonder. But doing the dance that goes along with it, you can see this on YouTube. This will help you drive up this emotion. We have many hits. Not all of them are ecstasy hits. These are the festivitas, music and dances that the Vikings used. And for a long time before the Viking era, it is recorded in oral traditions and also in the sagas about this music. And about the paranormal effects that this music could have. In Bose Saga, which happens on the coast of Sweden, they explain that as they were playing this on huge harp with golden strings, they had a glove to hit the strings. And maybe the glove had some metal on it too. I'm not sure. But the music was so intense that people and things started to levitate. This phenomena also is reported from the valleys in the south of Norway. The valleys inside the coastline, inland. As late as in the beginning of the 1900s. And these phenomena continued all the way until electricity came. When the train started rolling inland, these phenomena stopped. So, even the church, even the priests could not stop this culture. It would be nice, I think, for Vikings to have their authentic music for their festivals and dances along with it when they have parties, Viking parties. Instead of medieval music, which is very nice and very cleverly performed by everyone, but that is not from the Viking era. Some of the tunes, of course, may have roots in the Viking era, but why not use the music that they used? So then I would recommend interested people to look up on YouTube. Look up slottar. You could look up Setesdalsgangar. Gangar is the rhythm that is more like walking. Gangar means walking. You start the dance with walking steps and then you advance. Setesdalsgangar. Look up that on YouTube. Then you also can see the dance. It's easy to copy. And the thing is, the more you do it, the more pleasure. The other is springar, which also is a lot of, is a collection of hits. Slottar. Springar. Then you can look up telespringar. From the gangar type, which is walking, gangar, you can also look up halling. So then you have 3 secluded areas in the southern part of Norway that have conserved this ancient music for dance. These are the most ancient ones. There are a couple of others from the west coast of Norway. Rull means rolling. But these two, gangar and springar. Springar means running. So that is a bit different rhythm. These two have these some of these ecstasy tunes in it. Not all of them. If you want to look up the ecstasy tunes, you can look up Fani Tullen and Nordafjölls and Skjoldmøyslaget. The ones that are not exactly the ecstasy hits are also very driving, so they are a pleasure to use for dancing and playing. So these three areas I mentioned, Hallingdal, Telemark and Setesdal, they have been secluded areas for a very long time. As I said, Setesdalen was very secluded all the way until the electricity came. So there you see, it has something to do with infrastructure that came late into these areas. And so the culture has been preserved well for a long time. And changes on the way until the beginning of 1900s, all the way from the Viking area, has not changed very much. So this is very interesting for everyone who is interested in re-enlivening the Viking culture. You see this also in the women's clothes, because men's clothes changed more frequently, more often, maybe because they traveled more and saw other ways of dressing. But the women kept their way of dressing. That is also something that could be very interesting for Viking interested people to look at from exactly these areas, especially Hallingdal and Setesdalen. Also in Telemark, there are several ways that women have clothed and kept their ways of dressing. Some of them are more influenced by city life, modern city life, where the dress was divided into upper part and lower part. But there is also one that is like the other two, like the Hallingdal and the Setesdal dress, in one part with strings over the shoulders. So look these up. The Telemark version then has bare breasts and a card woven belt around the waist under the breasts, which is very practical for babies. And also the Setesdal dress also is very practical for babies because it has an open slitch, and the linen always is with buttons so you can open. Probably there was some kind of opening also in the Viking era because they also had babies. So I assume that there were different types of dresses, some that were for older women who didn't breastfeed anymore. And of course, the breastfeeding women had to have some kind of opening in the dress and in the inner lining, inner shirt. So the the open dress in Telemark, of course they have the inner lining, the inner white dress, särken as we call it in the Viking type. But I have actually seen that in a festivity around Odin, there was one woman with bare breasts. She had something like that, very similar to that dress, but with totally bare breasts and fur skin around, so she kept warm. Around the table, with Odin at the main seat, around the table were men, and she came in with bare breasts, and everyone fell completely silent and listened to Odin. So maybe this was some kind of a peace settling to bring in a woman like this, because everyone obeyed and fell silent. So I can continue with some more information about this kind of music and tuning, special tuning, also special tuning for music that has been delivered from the small people. And for this I say thank you for listening, and please like, share, subscribe. And if you want to contact me, please send me an email to nora.bang@gmail.com. So, thanks a lot. Bye bye.